Hello, and welcome to the We Only Look Thin Game Night. I am one of your hosts, Sir Donald Weigel, and I have lost a little over 100 pounds. And with me, as always, is...
Vanna White, your lovely sidekick.
Ooh.
It's game night. Hi there, I am Catherine Weigel, and I have lost 150 plus pounds, and I am the co-host, and I am ready for game night.
Yeah, game night. We are going to talk about board games. Mostly board games.
Boring.
No, not boring games.
Oh.
Board games.
Board games, yay.
Yeah, you know, like you got little pieces and you go around a board.
I do.
Yeah, you get it? You understand now?
I do.
All right, good.
Donald's like staring me down right now, like we're kind of sitting on opposite sides, and he's just staring at me unblinkingly.
I'm taking this bit far too
he
far.
He is very, very competitive when it comes to board games. We'll talk about that later.
I'm sort of a method actor. I'm like getting into the character of somebody who's trying to teach her about board games.
He is. And speaking of getting into things, last week we talked about my struggle with depression. Woo!
It was a super yuck fest.
Vuvuzela sounds or slide whistles or whatever. But like, I know we talked about it, but we were going to record earlier, and we have a neighbor who has meetings once a week, and they're kind of loud, so we were waiting to record the episode this afternoon. And my concern with delaying the episode was that I was afraid that a wave of depression would come over me and then I wouldn't be able to do this episode. So we took a gamble and we rolled some dice.
Yeah, as just like you do when you play games.
What? And it turns out I'm in a good mood. So yay us.
Yeah.
Woo! We're like, because I really
spun the Wheel of Fortune and hit the secret $1 million square.
Is that what happens?
I don't know.
I don't know.
It's been a while since I watched Wheel of Fortune.
No,
You're
but like
Vanna White, you tell me.
Sometimes I feel like with the podcast, it's almost like NASA landing a shuttle. Like all of the weather conditions have to be right. And like Donald puts up with a lot of me being like, I'm too cold. I can't podcast. Like I need tea before I podcast. Like I need to not be totally depressed when I podcast. And he's ready to go like whenever on a podcast. But I'm the one that...
I'm down. You put a microphone in front of me and I start talking.
So I am just grateful today that everything has been in alignment and I am ready for
some reason, I'm
imagining
like NASA landing a shuttle. The first thing I pictured was one of those guys with the two big like orange flashlights out on the runway.
I'm kind of like that. Donald's definitely...
think they have those at NASA.
I don't know. If you're from NASA or your JPLs or whatever, you let us know. Do you have little orange coney directy things? So,
the big earphones.
I am ready for game night. This is a big night. But first, we're going to start with the...
Tip of the week.
Cow!
Tip of the week to you.
Tip of the week to you.
As if this wasn't gimmicky enough. We've got many slogans.
So, Donald, what's our tip of the week?
Our tip of the week is thus. If you are dying for a treat, or you're out and you're going to go for the Subway sandwich or whatever, how about throwing half of it away before you even start?
We're talking about wasting your food, people. Did you ever waste your food when you were a kid, Donald?
Not once.
Not once.
No, I even ate the stuff I didn't like because I was worried I would not find more food later.
But here's the thing. I think we say like, oh, I was part of the Clean Plate Club. Like, yeah. I invented the Clean Plate Club because I wanted to eat all the food and seconds and thirds.
Yeah, I cleaned my plate as if it was my job.
So can I tell them the story about what I did last night?
Yeah, you should tell them.
We went and saw a film at the Film Bijou Theater.
Yeah,
and
the Bijou.
I love Toblerone, and they had a bar of Toblerone. One portion, right? Oh no, it was 3 portions worth at almost 1,000 calories. But I opened the package before we went into the theater. I broke off 50% of the bar, and I literally, with my finger, flicked it into the trash can.
Yeah, and there's actually video evidence of it on our Instagram feed.
There is. We're telling you, if you have a problem controlling your portions, before you have time to think about it, before you have time to justify it, before you have time to go, but I hate wasting money, throw half of it in the trash.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell yourself all you want, that you're going to save it for later and that you're, only going to eat half now and maybe half in a couple of days, but no.
Unlike Little Orphan Annie, nothing ever survived till tomorrow.
No, if I was sitting there in a theater with a full thing of Toblerone, and I don't even really like Toblerone that much, I would eat the whole thing.
Because you want the value.
Yeah. Well, it's not even that. I just like the taste of chocolate and hazelnut or whatever the heck's in Toblerone.
But I have actually, get a small popcorn, walk over to the trash can, dump half of it out.
Yeah, for
Boom,
sure.
50% calories. Your chocolate bars, your sandwiches. If you're at a restaurant, ask them to box something up and then literally throw it in the trash. Don't worry about wasting. Don't worry about value. Don't worry about the meal you say you're going to have tomorrow and then you actually eat it in the car. I have never had half of a Toblerone last. Like the last time I actually had a Toblerone,
yeah,
I said I'd have half. Guess what I did? I ate all of it because I am a lying liar who lies. So instead of lying to yourself,
and the person you're lying most to is yourself.
You are the monster. So I threw half of the chocolate
monsters
bar
are people.
in the trash. I didn't have to negotiate with myself. I didn't have to tell myself later that I was going to have it the next day and then secretly eat it in the restroom stall at the movie theater. No secret eating for me. I just tossed it in the trash. So we're saying waste versus waste. Again, with the spelling and this, we're in the wrong business. It either goes in the waste basket or it goes on your waist.
On your waist. And I know where I'd rather have it.
In the waist?
The waste basket.
The waste. Yeah. Oh, the basket. Okay.
The basket.
So that is our tip. Be wasteful. This is America.
Tip of the week to you. This is America.
This is America. Be wasteful.
Be wasteful so that you can be mindful of your waste.
There aren't starving children in whatever. Nobody needs your Toblerone. Least of all you. So, tip of the week to you.
Tip of the week to you.
Woo!
Tow.
So now let's take 50% of our party snacks and tiptoe onto topic 2.
Yeah. Oh, and there will be a product of the week later.
There will be a secret product.
Pow.
Of the week. Pow.
Stay tuned.
But pow later. So pow.
Yeah. Pow.
Pow. Pow. So topic 2. It's game night, everybody.
Yes.
Tuck into 50% of your Toblerone bar because it is upon us.
Yeah, and the idea here is that we used to treat weight loss like a game, and we would try different games. For most of my life, the game that I most associated with my weight loss was Hungry Hippos.
Hungry Hippos.
That's how
we all started.
Yeah, how about you, love of my life?
Well, but let's see. Pie face wasn't invented until I was an adult, but I think Candyland was the game that I most enjoyed. I don't believe I ever ate any of the game pieces, like that piece of paper ham that I enjoyed back in the day. But yeah.
Well, I think we're speaking metaphorically, that you just ate lots of candy.
I did. And you ate lots of hippos?
I acted like a hungry hippo who had to get every freaking marble into my mouth that I could. And by marbles, I mean piece of food.
Piece of food. I remember actually having that as a child. And
yeah, we had it too. It was
made
really
so
loud.
Much noise.
It was really
How
loud.
Any grown-up didn't lose their mind. If our daughter had that, I would nope. I would nope it out.
It's like having a drum set almost.
You can play with it, but we're taking the mouths
with
out
plastic
because it's too much
against plastic.
So, when we were children, which was basically up until 3 years ago, we, as Donald said,
emotionally children,
we treated weight loss as a game. So I think we're going to start by sort of going through the kinds of games that we play with ourselves and with our journeys. And Donald mentioned this is a metaphorical episode. So we're asking you, what kind of game might you have played with
and
your
what
weight
game
loss?
are you playing right now?
What game are you playing right now? The first one that came to mind for me was Whack-A-Mole.
Not exactly a board game, but it's a game.
It's a game. Well, you hit stuff. But okay, in weight loss, are you the kind of person that is just like hitting at anything that moves in front of you? You don't have a plan. You just kind of have a club and you just whack at things.
Something pops up, you hit it.
And you don't really know how the score works or whether you've won or not, but it's kind of like you have this finite amount of time and you're just whacking everything.
Yeah, you're kind of like, maybe I should avoid pasta, and you hit that for a little bit. And then you're like, how about I cut out sugar, and you hit that. And then you're like, maybe I should try this, eating mostly protein.
And then it says game over, and then you go over to Chuck E. Cheese and you have a bunch of pizza, and then you come back and then you try it again.
And then I'm like, how about a shake meal replacement thing?
And you're kind of exhausted and ashamed because you don't think you won and you didn't get any tickets. So that's board game number.
Gotta get those tickets.
So valuable. But going back to our childhood, there are lots of different kinds of games that you can play. There's all or nothing games where there's only one winner and you've got to beat everyone else out. There are timed games, which you've got, 30 seconds to win the round, or like Perfection. There's a timer counting down and it's urgent. There are partner games, aren't there, Donald?
There sure are.
Mental games. We'll get into codependency later.
We get into codependency all the time.
There are team games. There are elimination games. So we're just going to kind of go through some. Donald, why don't you start us off with a game? And then make it a metaphor.
One game is Clue. It's one of my favorites. And in Clue, you're trying to solve a mystery. And the mystery
one weird trick.
This case is like weight loss. And so instead of like, Mrs. Peacock in the parlor with the lead pipe, you're kind of like, maybe it's the treadmill with the keto in the morning and the Weight Watchers in the afternoon, and you're trying to figure out what sticks.
But you're also trying to figure out like what other people are doing.
Yeah.
And so you're trying to like figure out like, if you're a questioner, which I think you are. Hello, Gretchen Rubin. Like you're looking to see what other people have going on, what works for them. Like, are they lying to you? Like if someone says that they just stopped drinking soda and they've lost 50 pounds, you're like, I don't believe you. You're bluffing. That's not, you totally have Colonel Mustard.
I went from eating 2 Big Macs a day at lunch to 1, and the pounds just melted off.
Yeah. So it's a calculating game. It is a game of mystery and suspense.
And people are holding cards close to their vest, and you don't know what the truth is.
Well, and I've never, you enjoy that game. I am not a big fan of that game, metaphorically or actually socially.
I love Clue. I have like 4 or 5 versions of it.
He does, and I kind of play along, but I think I wasted a lot of time playing along with other people's games. Metaphor. Have you killed that metaphor?
Yes.
Shall we move on to the next one? One that really resonated with me is the game Operation.
Mm-hmm.
There's a board. It's electrified somehow. It's very dangerous. You've got tweezers.
Yeah.
And the point of Operation, and we don't work for Milton Bradley or Hasbro or whatever.
Yeah.
But Operation is about precision. It's about perfection. And as a perfectionist, you go in and you have to do it absolutely perfectly or you fail and the buzzer goes off and you're ruined. And I think weight loss, for perfectionists out there, that really is something dangerous, because if you're going in trying to be medically precise with your plan or following keto or Weight Watchers, and then you fail, quote unquote, you don't pull out the funny bone perfectly, then you give up, which Operation was my Weight Watchers for 20 years.
And the version of Operation we had as kids, because we grew up in the 70s before things were safe, you actually got jolted with like 50,000 volts of electricity if you touched the side.
I think that might have just been a farm in your neighborhood, because I don't remember that actually. Right. But it did but there was like a little shock to it. It was like, whatever, which is not friendly. It's not good. So I'm going with Operation because I tried to be perfect. Speaking of perfect, why don't you talk about perfection?
Me?
You!
Okay, there's a game Perfection, and there's a timer, and you're trying to put all the pieces in before the timer goes off. and if you don't make it, the pieces all pop up into the air
and crumble. So
and crumble.
That's putting weight loss on a time schedule.
Yeah,
that's what that is. You got a wedding coming up.
You give yourself a deadline, like an artificial deadline. You're like, like you just said, a wedding coming up, a graduation photo, some event that you need to get.
You haven't seen your friends in 6 months, and you put on weight, and you've got to suddenly comply and put all the crazy pieces in the right place at the right time. And
this leads people to do these crash starvation diets, cut their calories down, exercise, over exercise if there is such a thing, which there is. And it does not lead to long-term success.
Is it sustainable?
No.
Oh, you literally just said it's not. That's what I get for planning what I was going to say. Darn it. So
the answer is no. It is not sustainable.
So that is one of those timed games. They don't work out, people. It's not fun for anybody. You're all stressed out. So now I'm going to go on. We're taking the board game a little bit bigger. The board game is on the floor, and there's multiple dot colors. We're going to Twister.
Oh.
Twister is about bending yourself into some deranged version of yourself that is very uncomfortable. You're maybe bent over in a weird position. Your gut's hanging out.
Yeah.
You're kind of twisted around. That's doing something that you're really not comfortable with. That was me with working out with a personal trainer.
Yeah.
I was doing things I did not like, moving in ways that were not fun for me. Literally being uncomfortable and pushing through anyway because there was that external expectation. And if it doesn't feel natural, don't do it. Don't do it. Because that's what I did for a long time. And I thought, well, that's just how you have to play the game. That's how you have to get it done.
Yeah. Ask yourself, is this something I can do for the rest of my life? And if it's not, then chances are you shouldn't be doing it.
If your foot is on 5 a.m. HIIT classes and your hand is on running 20 miles and your other elbow is on keto and it doesn't feel good, don't do it.
Yeah.
This isn't a game.
Then there are games like Sorry. And Sorry is a game where you've got these 4 pawns, and the
pawns are yourself.
The idea is to get the pawns all the way around the board and back home, and you draw these cards that tell you how to do it. And the Sorry part of the game comes from all of the ways in which you can impede others' progress.
Sabotage.
And I think this ties in a couple of ways. One, Catherine and I spend a lot of time sabotaging each other's progress for weight loss over the years. If she started to succeed and I was not interested in losing weight because I just wanted to be lazy and eat all the food, I would try and sabotage her. Maybe not consciously, but I would suggest we, eat out. And I assume you did the same to me.
Oh, yeah. No. I still do it.
and the other thing is, a lot of times you get dealt, that game is controlled by these cards that you deal. And it's move ahead 2 spaces, move ahead 4 spaces. And it's you don't really have, a lot of these diets, you don't really have any control over what you're doing. And you're just sort of on autopilot. And
you're waiting to be told what to do.
Yeah, you make yourself into kind of an automaton that is fed orders rather than trying to come up with something that works for you that you can actually sustain forever. Because once that voice of control goes away, then you go right back to your old habits. At least I know I did.
Well, and our dear listener, friend, and accountability group member, Rebecca, she said that Sorry was her the game that she played for many, many years. And there's metaphors just in the name of it. It is a metaphor unto itself.
She also posted very recently about actual thin people who were talking about how they would, they didn't eat baked treats themselves, but she overheard this conversation, but they would take them to work and sabotage others'
Listen, all
success.
y'all, it's a sabotage.
Yeah, it didn't necessarily put it in that sense, but I think there are people, you've got to watch these people in your lives who take joy, even if they don't realize it, take joy in sabotaging others by, feeding them baked goods.
Yeah,
or other treats.
I know people like that. It's not good. We actually, on Thanksgiving, went over to my brother's house for Thanksgiving. His naturally slender, very attractive girlfriend, who wasn't there at the time, made cake pops. Gave him some cake pops, as you do.
Yeah.
Naturally slim person.
Right.
And I made him put the cake pops in his pantry away from view because every time I did have one, but then I was like, I want to eat all the cake pops before Thanksgiving dinner. And as a naturally slim person, my brother and his delightful girlfriend, they can have cake pops on the counter.
Yeah.
I'm not that person. So I had to put them away. And he kind of scoffed at me. And I was like, no, like seriously, because now all I wanted.
You know, the funny thing is, I didn't resist anything else, but I did not have a cake pop. I ate everything else that was put in front of me.
We actually, speaking of 50%, we threw away 50% of a pumpkin pie.
Yeah, we did, which was painful for me. Like, pumpkin pie is perhaps my favorite thing on planet Earth.
We are grown-ups. So getting back into the sabotage and the board game, Battleship is also...
What? How are you going to tie Battleship into this?
Well, because I used to eat like one. In the self-sabotage world and in the codependency world, like you're trying to ruin someone else, and I wanted you to not succeed when I was not succeeding. Is that a sentence anyone's ever said before?
Well, it makes sense.
But it's like you're super competitive. You want to go step by step and toe to toe with your competitor. And that's not really healthy. Like the only person you're competing against is yourself, and trying to look to someone else to ruin them before you ruin yourself.
Yeah, I think we have this tendency as human beings to feel guilt. You know, if we're indulging in something like, you know, it happens a lot when people are drinking and I'm trying to abstain. And, you know, it's like that, come on, you can have one. Oh, come on.
Misery loves company. Pizza loves company. Alcohol loves company.
Yeah.
And it can be very uncomfortable to stand up for yourself. And it's really hard when you, like, in your heart of hearts, you want all the cake pops.
Yeah.
And you have to turn them down. It's no fun.
It is no fun.
It is no fun. So what's next? What's the next board game?
A game that I am quite familiar with, I've played a lot growing up, is Yahtzee.
Yahtzee. Not hearing the jingle jangle of
you've got these 5 dice, and you're trying to roll different combinations of dice. And, you know, there are a couple of things here. One thing is trying to get a Yahtzee on every roll, which is just a shortcut to, you know, weight loss success. It's like looking for that, you know, one weird trick, that magical pill that's going to be a shortcut and is going to prevent you from doing the work of getting the 3 of a kinds and the 4 of a kinds. And, you know, you got to get your 3 3s and your 3 4s and your 3 5s in that game. And, should I keep going?
Tell us more rules of Yahtzee.
You know, but people want that shortcut. They're trying to get that Yahtzee instead of, you know, putting in the work and getting all the points and building the habits one at a time, getting your combinations one at a time to achieve your weight loss goals.
Well, and that ties into Uno also, which is like, you know, skip a meal, reverse, go back. Like suddenly you have no cards and then you got all the cards, and it's like that weight loss zigzag of like you think the game is almost over and then like suddenly magically the holidays happen and then you're up 20 pounds and then the game keeps going. Like it definitely was something that I struggled with for a very long time. I have very many Uno decks, almost as many as your card decks. Donald has like 10 sets of cards?
I don't know.
Anyway.
I have a problem buying decks of cards.
We're losing the metaphor. Here's the big one. This is like the granddaddy of them all, where it all started. Chutes and ladders.
Oh, yeah.
Remember? This is where it all started.
This was the game that was the genesis for the idea for this episode.
That invisible touch led us to...
Oh, my God.
I went there.
A Genesis, the band reference.
Wow. It was that or a Star Trek reference, so that's what you got. So, Chutes and ladders. The goal of that game is to get to 100, which that's how many pounds Donald lost. There are 100 squares.
Wow.
And
we're bringing it all back.
But there's ladders where you like move ahead, and then there's chutes where you slide back down.
There's a spinner in that game, right? Or is it dice? I can't remember. I think it's a spinner.
You spin or toss something. You move ahead some spaces. That's weight loss.
And you land on a ladder and you go up to a better space.
That's like a week where suddenly you're down 5 pounds and you don't feel like you deserve it. And you're like, woohoo, like one weird trick, I got there. And that's not, you don't get 5 pounds every week. It's just sometimes it happens.
And then you might land on a chute and that sends you back
Which
down.
might be Taco Tuesday, which leads you into Girl Scout Cookie Wednesday.
And Pizza Thursday.
Pizza Thursday, Bagel
Salisbury
Friday.
Steak Friday.
Salisbury Steak Friday. But those, and honestly, like this one is kind of a heavy hitter for me. There are so many people that I see who post, who say like, I was doing great last year, or I was doing great over the summer and I was down 30 pounds and yada, 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 I'm up 20 pounds. And that's kind of going down the chute and going like, oh, I've, you know, I made all this progress and now I'm back to square one, or I'm back 10 spaces. And those 10 spaces that you've lost going down the quote unquote chute are the habits that you didn't put in place, or the habits that you forgot. And so many people brush over, they do a flyover of what habits got them back up the scale. And that for me is huge, that taking responsibility for the habits that I lose. It's not a magic trick. It's not a roll of the dice. It's just the habits that I put in place. I am probably up on the scale 5 or 6 pounds since Thanksgiving. It's a mystery to us all. Like, oh no, I have been eating a lot and I've been making more excuses and I've been doing some secret eating and yes, last night the Toblerone went in the trash, which is great. But it is still a battle. And it is, if we're looking at the board game, I know what I did to gain 5 or 6 pounds. Like, it is not a mystery to me.
I'm always surprised when I hear about your secret eating. And why am I always surprised about it?
I don't. If I'm in the kitchen and being
really
quiet,
good at it.
If I'm in the kitchen and quiet, don't assume I'm cleaning. Like, the quieter it is, it's like...
I'm going to start lurking around, and I'll poke my head in the kitchen and go, aha!
You should, Jacuz! I babysat some kids when I was, 12 or 13, and I was always on them. Like, I was never the, be on the phone or, watch TV while I was watching kids, but I was probably cleaning the kitchen, actually, and they were so loud. They were quiet for, 2 minutes, which never happened because usually they were 2 of the 3 little bear brothers in the movie Brave.
Right.
I went in the other room and they had gotten an emergency kit down from a top shelf and had poured mercurochrome all over one another.
Wow.
Yeah. And they were bright orange. So never trust quiet. If I'm quiet, you know how much I talk. Look how much I'm talking right now. This is mostly why I record a podcast, is so that I'm not eating. So yeah, but the chutes and ladder thing is a really big thing. The 100 pounds that we've lost, the game isn't over. The 150 pounds I've lost, the game isn't over. I have to keep fighting for my habits. And I know that is a bummer. But it's not a mystery. Sometimes you are the windshield. Sometimes you're the bug. Sometimes there's a ladder. And if there's a chute, it's probably your fault. You're the chute. Yeah. Your mouth is the chute.
You've got to be prepared for the chutes.
The chutes.
Another way to look at it is like dominoes. Dominoes is partially, it's a game.
Pizza.
Where you build these trains.
And pizza.
It's also pizza. You build these trains and think about your habits in this way. And you're starting with your double 12s. And you move on and you connect another habit and another habit and another habit. And before you know it, you've got a nice train of dominoes. And dominoes are also used. You set them up and knock them down because one hits the other and it keeps going.
Is that like a habit?
It's like a habit. Yeah. And so you start one habit.
What kind of weird noise did I just make? Can we edit that out?
No. It's not only is it staying in, I'm gonna record it, and I'm gonna have a button where I can play it anytime I want.
Anyway, so dominoes, habits.
Dominoes. So you set up your habits, and then one habit hits the next, and it hits the next, and it hits the next, and before you know it, you've set up this chain, which is the basis of your weight loss foundation. and it allows you, one habit just plays off of another. And that's the way that I believe leads to sustainable lifelong change.
Lifelong change.
Yes.
Or as long as you keep the habits up.
Yes.
You can never run out of dominoes.
No, but the point is, like, even if like one habit, you slip on one habit, you've got all of these other habits. Or maybe one day, you have Thanksgiving and you're pounding cake pops, but you've got this foundation of habits in place, and then you go right back to it the next day. It's not, you don't swirl out of control.
Well, and I think too, and we could literally, there are many board games. We could keep going.
I wanted to talk about how, like, most of my weight loss life has been Trouble or Boggle, because I had no idea what was going on.
No, but
Monopoly, I was just like not passing go, not collecting $200, going straight to jail.
Boring. I always got really, I was like, I don't want to make money. I'll just...
Monopoly was always fun for like 45 minutes, and then the problem is it was like a 2.5 hour game.
Never ends. But there are, going back to the kinds of people we are. Donald is more of a questioner. He's a details guy. He's about rules. And I'm a lot more like, hey, let's just have fun and do whatever, you guys. If the rules
I'm going to question everything you just said.
You should.
Aha!
But Trivial Pursuit, there are people who want every detail and everything mapped out and need to have the perfect Fitbit, the perfect pair of shoes, the perfect plan, who question every single move that they make. And Gretchen Rubin actually talks about people who are maximizers or satisficers, where it's like you want to make sure that you have the perfect plan, the perfect everything. And it often keeps us from actually making any choices because we're waiting for some perfect moment, perfect alignment of habits, of life circumstances, of job working out, of family situations. We're waiting for this perfect moment to get in the game, sort of.
Yeah, and one of my favorite expressions, platitudes, is don't let perfect be the enemy of the good. And oftentimes, we try with weight loss and with other things, it's like, well, I'm not going to do anything because I can't do everything perfectly. And it stops us from doing anything.
Well, and it cheats us. How many times have you played a game where, in Operation or something, where you don't use the metal tweezers to pick up the thing because you don't want to hear the sound. You lie to yourself, or you cheat your way through, or even kids, our daughter is like, no, the rules changed. Now you play it like this and now I win.
Yeah, she used to do that all the time.
And she's actually really cold and calculating. She definitely is in it to win it now. But
for sure.
The people who, if you don't play it exactly their way, you're not going to do it. If it's not about enjoying yourself and having a good time. It's about getting to the end destination, winning, and not really enjoying the whole experience. But so there are many kinds of people in this game of life, which is a whole other game.
Oh, yeah, which is also a board game, life.
Which is really boring. And that is the kind of habits that we have in place.
Life is a board game, which is not exciting and not sexy, just like developing good habits and losing weight in a lifelong, sustainable way.
Well, and there are, as I talked about at the beginning, there are different kinds of losers in this game of weight loss. And Donald and I are not the same kind of weight loss enthusiasts. I like team support. I like accountability. I like sort of a group fun time.
And I'm a loner. I'm a rebel, Dottie.
He plays solitaire, but
he's also by my own rules.
But he's also very competitive. So he's in Fitbit challenges. I don't care about the Fitbit challenges as much. Whereas for him,
desperately wanted to win this one this week, and I fell short.
Well, and that's figuring out. I know we're all Captain Chuckles and whatever, but figuring out the kind...
Captain Chuckles to the rescue.
Figuring out the kind of accountability that you need or that you don't need. Donald's mother has a Fitbit. She's a lovely woman. She wants nothing to do with telling anyone how many steps she has. She wouldn't even be my
Fitbit friend because she didn't want me knowing her business on the Fitbit.
So there are people who want to approach this in a solitary way, who get the information that they need. They know what their plan is and they stick to it, and they don't want anyone knowing their business, which is totally fine. And if you are that kind of person and you know it, don't join the Fitbit challenges. Don't join the accountability groups.
But there are other people, just like we were talking about group games where there are partners and teams. Like there are other people who thrive from having partners and teams and other people to hold them accountable. And also sometimes just telling other people what you're going through and realizing that you're not alone can be a huge help in getting it done.
Well, and that was huge for me. That was a missing piece. When I was in Weight Watchers, I felt like I would go to the meetings. They would have their single focus for the meeting topic. And the questions people would ask were like, well, my calorie counter says it's 3 points and not 2. Like, okay,
and what aisle do you get that in at the store? Like,
but
there was
never any conversation about shame, about secret eating, about binging, about codependent relationships, and really like divulging your soul. That is not for everyone. There are people who don't want people to know their business, and that is totally fine. I found that I was the kind of person who really thrived on having a safe space to talk about my issues and to have fun too. And I think in board games, if other people are winning, it actually makes me happier than me winning myself, which Donald doesn't understand. But I'm like, no. If other people are having a good time,
when
and
I'm
like
playing a board game, I want to win.
He is in it to win it, and I'm in it to win it also. But I like the camaraderie, and going back to you being against someone else, or you feeling competitive against a spouse who is suddenly easily losing weight and you're not. Don't take your eye off the prize, which is your health and your mobility and your, sense of pride that you feel from actually being able to set a goal and achieving it with small, sustainable habits.
Wow. I love that.
I do too. So what kind of a player are you? What kind of a player do you want to be? Do you realize that you've wasted a lot of time with hungry hippos?
Yes.
So hungry?
I don't know what accent that was.
I don't know either. I was waiting for you to laugh, but you didn't. So they can't all be winners. That's all right. I don't really care.
It's funny. In my mind, I was laughing. I was just so stunned by it.
I don't know. Occasionally I do fun accents.
Yeah,
people
fun
love
accents.
them. It's so fun.
Yeah.
But, I played the weight loss game for decades. I played the weight loss game to avoid confrontation with my doctor. I would lose just enough weight so that he wouldn't get mad at me. He wouldn't talk to me about it. And this is not a game. This is our lives. This is our health. This is our mobility. And I wasted decades playing games. So I'm asking you, stop playing games. Start living your life.
Yeah.
And put habits in place that are sustainable. Figure out ways that are meaningful for you. Are you competitive? Are you a loner and a rebel like Donald? Are you a questioner? Do you waste a lot of time trying to read all of the instructions and not just put the peg forward? Or
start putting one foot in front of the other, and before you know it, you're
walking out the door.
Walk. Yeah,
it's Christmas time, so we're singing Christmas songs. So honestly, what are you looking for? What has been a waste of time? What board games do you have? You don't even pull them out. Someone got them for you. You just don't even want to look at it. Who knows?
No one would do that.
Nobody does that.
No one would keep a bunch of games around that.
We have a bunch of games that we don't play. So we're separating the metaphor from the actual life now, and just make yourself a priority. Figure out how that's
a great way to sum up, and I think that is time to transition into the product of the week. Pow, everybody!
So we talked a little bit about game night. And working together as a team toward a common goal.
Yeah, and how there are lots of people who need accountability and want to team up, want a place where they can tell people what they're going through.
If only there was a place that did that.
Huh.
And that's how we're introducing you to Wolt Place.
Wolt Place. And Wolt stands for We Only Look Thin in case you were wondering.
Yeah, so we have been doing free accountability groups in 2018, just sort of seeing what works, what we enjoy, and I've made it a place where we share, we have challenges, we have habits, and in 2019 we are switching gears to have a subscriber-based member plan, and it is going to be
great.
It is already great, and it's going to be greater. So right now, like I said, we're doing free accountability groups, but we're going to ask you to stay tuned in 2019 for the next incarnation of Wolt Place, where you can be the person that you are today while working on the you of tomorrow.
Yes, it's a safe space for women to work out their weight loss goals.
Yeah, so I found that it was an amazing way for me to lose weight. I was in a group, and having a safe place to be vulnerable and honest and share your goals and your successes and your failures. The interweb can be a lonely place for perfection. And we see on Facebook all the time people with what we think are perfect lives. And so this is a place to be vulnerable and real and really work on yourself. So more information will follow on that. I believe on our Facebook page and on our Instagram, we will have a link so that you can put your name in.
You can sign up for more information, and we'll talk about pricing and all of that there.
Yeah, and there will be, right now we're getting names for the list. We're going to keep this group very small. I have been in very large groups. That's not what this is about. This is an 8-point font group. This is a tiny group.
Yeah, we're going to keep it small.
Keep it small.
Keep it real.
Yeah.
A place where we'll know all your names.
Yeah. So yeah, get ready for Wolt Place in 2019. If sharing and caring is something that might be meaningful to you, check it out.
Sharing is caring.
Sharing is caring. So speaking of sharing, share this podcast with other people. For everyone who has left us a comment and review on iTunes.
We are so grateful, and we really appreciate a lot of the things that you've said.
Yeah, thank you so much. So you can find us on the interwebs at weonlylookthin.com.
Or you can find us on Facebook at We Only Look Thin.
You can email us at weonlylookthin@gmail.com.
You can find us on Twitter at We Only Look Thin.
And on the Instagrams at We Only Look Thin.
Yeah, the Instagram page you run is really great.
Thanks. So look there for information on our next adventure for 2019. It quite honestly, this journey I started about 3 years ago, and having podcasts and accountability and fellowship with people in this journey has absolutely changed my life. So I am grateful to be in a position to help support our listeners in a way that was meaningful to me. So that's all I have to say about that. So thank you so much for listening.
Yes, thank you so much.
You did. You did a great job. You took a crapshoot listening to this podcast. What other, like, you rolled some dice. What other things you can...
You were dealt a hand of some card game.
All right. I think that we've made enough metaphors for our fine listeners today. So thank you so much for listening. And
when you're trying to roll a hard 8 on your next roll, just remember that Catherine and I are...
An inspiration.
Asian. The information that you hear on this podcast is for informational purposes only. The hosts are not medical professionals. You should always consult with your doctor, nurse, or other certified health professional before beginning any diet or fitness program.